It's a great time there. Get to New York and went to a bunch of shows in New York. I I went to the Gotham Comedy Club. I went to the New York Comedy Club. I wanted to call it the New York Comedy Studio, but that's not it. It's the New York Comedy Club, the Gotham Comedy Club, the LOL at Times Square. This guy, shout out, I don't remember his name, but he did his job well. He got me to buy tickets off the street in Times Square. Mind you, it wasn't a hard job. Like, that's what I was doing. Like, I wasn't looking for somebody to sell me tickets, but I was just like, I was already online trying to find places, and I was walking around Times Square, and he had the big thing that says, like, comedy tickets, da da da. And so I was just like, hey man, and he was like, so it was basically a done sale for him. And so he sold me tickets to the New York Comedy Club, and then the LOL as well. And what else was there? I went to one other club. Oh yeah, I went fucking. I'm so dumb. I went to the Comedy Cellar. Reppin'. I bought a T-shirt there. Said fuck yeah, man. I saw David Tell was there, like performing, and who's the smiley guy? The guy who does the smiley face. I always forget his name. I forget his name every time. I look it up. I've looked it up 2 dozen times. I still forget his name every fucking time. What is his name? I never remember. Either way, he's got a special on Netflix called like Smiley Face. He's basically like the reincarnate of Seinfeld. Like he's exact like his comedy, his face, his voice. Even that's what makes it really puts it over the top. He sounds like Seinfeld. Very good comment. Not knocking him in any way by saying that. How could I be when Seinfeld's one of the best? But yeah, so that guy, he was there performing. He's the one who I actually went to see specifically. I saw he was on, and he's the one I wanted to see because I liked his special, and I can't even remember his name. And then David Tell was there, and uh, there was a bunch of other really great comics as well. But yeah, that was great. Comedy Cellar, fucking. So yeah, I don't have to say anything about that venue. It was real nice. Perfect venue for stand up comedy. Good food, nice booths there. But again, man, those COVID jokes were rolling in, and then you're just sitting there in this group of people, just like just so many of you crammed in there, and you're just thinking like this. In retro, it's like this is not the place you wanted to be in New York, and that's why this shit kept going because they kept doing shows. I was following to New York, so like a week after I'm back from New York, now they've got a bunch of cases. They're still doing shows. People weren't canceling shows yet. NBA was still on. They weren't doing about a few days after that, maybe a week after that. And then it just goes, everything's canceled. And it's like, well, what the fuck was happening 5 days ago? Like, everything is good now? We're just supposed to be chill about that? And then it was, okay, everyone just stay home and then you know you're good. Like, that's where I'm at now. I know the house is clean. I know everything here is clean. I'm trying to limit my supply runs and just like going out when I need to. I always keep stuff stocked before crises, anyways. I just have enough food regularly and things. It's just good to be supplied. But yeah, so fuck me. Comedy Cellar was definitely a major highlight. And the LOL Times Square, another unreal comedy venue. That was a hilarious show. There was Dino Vigo was there. He's the main guy who I remember he was hosting. He was really funny comic from New York. And there was this lady. Uh, we were contemplating whether or not she was homeless or not, or how she even got a ticket, or what her deal is. And how she got in is I don't know either. But so she fell asleep like during the show at the Times Square, and you can watch it on his Instagram. It's like at Dino Vigo or something like that. And she he went live with it, or at least recorded it, and she fell asleep. And like there, it was a very audience interactive show, and I liked that, and it was really fun. And like this lady who fell asleep kept like talking shit, like she was heckling, really annoying actually at the beginning, like bugging a bunch of people. Comics like always had something to say, and then the comics would deal with her, and then eventually it got to the point where like let's go, and then she just went quiet, and then like one comic goes up, and then Dino comes back, and we're like she's sleeping, so she passed out, and then we took a closer look. So she didn't like look homeless per se, but she also didn't look, rich or nothing, but she was just there, and she was there alone, and she had a 40 ounce oh, what is that? Like a 40 ounce of Old English somehow that she just brought in there in a brown bag, and she was wearing flip flops in March, like early March in New York, in Times Square, flip flops and like sweats and a 40 ounce of Old English, and then just kind of passed out on herself like this, and slept hard for a good 20 minutes, and didn't even the rest of the show. We just let her sleep because she kept heckling, but it was so funny. And then we were like, well, he was filming her and stuff, and then he was the host, so he filmed, did a whole bit, came off. Oh, another act came up, did their whole act, addressed it a bit, more laughs there. 20 minutes later, he comes back up on stage, the host. She's still sleeping, and he does, more bits, records more, gets like just the whole, like, really playing it in, fucking hilarious. And then she ends up waking up finally. And we were like getting worried at this point. There was like enough jokes about, is she dead? Like, what? Man, what if she is dead? And we just railed on her this whole time, and just like fucking, oh my god. So, actually, that's what this is all here for. That's what this is here for. We can do this right now. I'm gonna show you guys. I knew I set this up for a reason, except of course because I've just been sitting here. The mouse is dead. Right? Well, not dead. It just fell asleep. That's actually good. Save the fucking battery. Yes, nice, okay. Let's hope this works. Dino. Yeah. Dino Vigo. There you go. This is the guy. Really funny comic, but check this out on his IGTV. There she is. Yes. This is happening right now. Look at this. Drunk lady falls asleep at comedy club. I know I posted this, but I wanted to try IGTV. Okay. Fell asleep for 20 minutes. And woke up like nothing happened, which is actually true. When she woke up, she was just like, "What's like?" I don't think she even knew she was asleep. Not even sure she knew she was at comedy club. Let's watch this shit. So we're at LOL Comedy Club. Everyone's having a good time. You can see me actually. Wait. So that's Dino. LOL Comedy Club. Everyone's having. And that's me right there. And actually, there were these two. I think they're English, not English or Australian. No, I think they're English girls that were sitting in front, and one of the girls had like just recently tried comedy for the first time, and so like that was cool. We were chatting for a bit, and then so I got seated right there. Actually, fuck, that's kind of funny. Even just the stories about the people that I got sat next to, because I was like a lone white guy. First of all, I was just like a lone white guy from Canada. I'm pretty sure Dino made some jokes. He's like, "You some kind of communist spy?" Or like, I was like, I didn't know that was the perception on Canada, that we were communists and shit. But I guess like maybe we are closer to that than we. Okay. Look at it. She's got this. Yeah. So she brought her own to the club, and she bought a drink. Because, okay, if you didn't know that, every club in New York, so I'm looking here because I got a screen. Every club in New York, comedy club, has like a 2-drink minimum. And I guess it's just, it makes sense actually. I think it's a reasonable model for comedy clubs to make more money, to be able to actually pay and have good comedians come in. And it's something that maybe could be explored in Ottawa too, in a way to bring in more revenue for those clubs. I'm sure that the club owners have thought about this and known the different models. Like, I've only really been exposed as a comedian to the Ottawa and like GTA Canadian comedy scene, not really to the American. And so that was really a whole part of this trip, was like, well, go on the job interview at Harvard, really cheap to get from there to New York, go there for a few days, go to a bunch of clubs in Boston and New York, get to see the comedy scene in Boston, because if I'm going to move there, I want to know, obviously, school, check, but comedy clubs, I need to check that box too. I was sure that they were good clubs. I'd looked up a lot. I'd heard good things about different ones, but I'd never been, so amazing. So that checked out. Then I went to New York, like, let's check out all these clubs. That's really what I wanted to see. And yeah, so anyway, so that's something I found out while I was there, that's how their model works. Is like, you have to buy 2 drinks plus your ticket. So maybe you buy like a $15 ticket, but then you have to spend probably like $18 in drinks, like, because I spent 2 drinks. So you're basically spending at least $30-40 a ticket regardless. And I feel like a lot of people I know in Ottawa who do come to shows, they're already buying a couple drinks, but imposing some food or something minimum when you're in a place like New York, when every show is like a professional, you know, a Netflix special like comedian, it makes sense to do that. So, anyways, this video, the flip flops. The flip flops. It was cold as shit that night.
Wow, she that's not what she did.
There I am. There I am again. Yeah, and these were the English chicks. Oh, is this guy got a McGill shirt on? I don't know if that came out.
So, guys, when we left this woman, she was deceased. And a miracle has happened. She is alive.
She was fun. After that, she was chill for the rest of the night.
You woke up surprisingly coherent. You know, she wasn't like, she was just like, yeah, I was around the city. I was doing my thing, getting my fucking money out of the city. You know, you was out cold, you know that, right?
No, see, he's the fucking spy. If anybody's a spy or a communist spy, he's the Russian spy right there. Just from saying that, just from saying those words, my phone is probably now just flagged 1,500 NSA goddamn things for Russian spy. Fuck, they're coming.
You know you were asleep?
She didn't even know she was
You were
asleep.
asleep for like 20 minutes. So, LOL.
And I heard sirens, and that reminded me, because I live right next to the hospital where I work, or like very, very close by. And it reminded me that the first case at Chio was reported a couple days ago. So that was, you know, close to home, definitely scarier. And, you know, hear a lot of updates every single day. There's an update from the hospital. Chio's the hospital. I work in the research institute of the hospital. So in that regard, I'm fairly separate from the healthcare. And like I said, for weeks I've been at home, and, you know, with my work at the university, that shut down. Universities were one of the first things to shut down here in Canada, I think, or at least having classes canceled. And that shut down, and so I was, you know, like, so on both accounts, I've been working from home from both the hospital and the school. But yeah, so the first person, and as of a few days ago, they're screening in and out. So anybody going in and out of the hospital, they're only have a couple exits even open, or entrances and exits open. So it's all like controlled entry, and everybody going in and out has to get tested. So I don't know exactly what that means, if that's all that nasal test, or everybody gets the fever, like the nasal one that you've seen online there. So yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that, but yeah, it's upsetting. I hope everybody's safe at Chio and at the hospitals there, and just that they get the people who, the person who was diagnosed, they already did all the close contact tracking and all that, and they're just at home so far, safe and sound, and just recovering healthy enough, as far as I understand. What else is going on Instagram right now? This is ridiculous, you know. So yeah, I saw some other great shows there. So, like I said, you know, I went to the Boston Improv. The show. I don't remember. Well, some of this guy was in it. That guy. Yeah, so I'm gonna go check them out. Boston Improv, and the Boston Comedy Studio. Is that it? I don't know. It's not. It is so complicated. Well, that is the Comedy Studio, yeah. That's the venue. Sweet stage. Rick's always got a wicked suit on. And is this a video? Oh, nice. Let's check it out. I don't know if it's funny. I've never watched this.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I am 16.
Oh, shit.
Which you might think is not really old, but It's rubber.
All right. I'll take it. I don't know why it wouldn't just take me to the page when I searched it, but. Oh, what's up with Jim Gaffigan? What are you doing?
Tonight at 6 p.m. on Dinner with the Gaffigans.
Oh, everybody watching Dinner with the Gaffigans? I watched one episode. I follow Jim Gaffigan, so that's another story. I follow him online, like on social media and that, and he's got this thing that he's been doing since the quarantine, Dinner with the Gaffigans. They just have dinner every night at 6 p.m. on YouTube.
So my haircut that my wife gave me.
Oh my God, Jim.
I hope I still love her. Hi.
So that's a cool story. So when I was in New York, this is a story about how I got to meet Jim Gaffigan when I was there. I met him at the Gotham Comedy Club, and I was supposed to be performing that night and while I was there. So this was the only time, I mean, at all the clubs I went to, I just kind of asked if there was any way I could get on, and, that night. And then if not, I always assumed there was really no chance. I kind of knew there wasn't. I'm smart enough to figure that out, but I just asked as part of the game, and I wanted to find out how to get on in the future in general. So that was really, I was able to ask that. But in this one case, I actually was in touch like weeks in advance with Gotham about getting on. It was a new talent showcase show, so I figured if any show was the best chance of me getting booked for something while I was there. And I got in touch and I got booked on to do a set, and he told me up front, the producer for that show at Gotham, he said, he was giving me a guest spot basically, and he told me that they often give guest spots to two big people, Seinfeld and Gaffigan, and that there's a chance that they can show up, and that's really up to them. And I was like, yep, that makes sense. That's up to and he's like, if they show up, then like they're gonna get the guest spot. And I was like, that's true. That also makes sense, and so I was there. I was in the hotel room. I was prepping all day, and I was getting ready to do my set. I was like working on my comedy. I've written some new jokes, so I was kind of working on those, like specifically for New York and stuff. I was excited to do the set, and then we found out that someone was coming. Didn't know who yet at this point, but the producer told us somebody was. It was very like hush about it. Like he told us somebody would be coming. It's a kind of big show. You don't want to miss it. Da da da. But it's like we can't share that on social media and stuff yet or anything, because I guess like that would be too big. I mean, the venue can hold a few hundred people. This Gotham Club. The upstairs is pretty big. It's really nice too. It's like a luxury comedy club, if you were to put it that way. Like it's not dive at all. It's like an upscale feel when you're in there. Really cool, nice venue, and it plays out well. Like I watched a few shows there. It was great. So anyways, I did go, and I was there, and I was ready to perform, and it turns out Jim Gaffigan shows up. So I'm pumped anyways. The whole time I already figured, like me and a couple friends, like I told them about this like a month ago, like before I went to New York, like weeks in advance when it got booked, and just how excited I was that I even got booked to do a show there. And that was kind of, that was another reason to, let's go to New York, let's do this. But I knew the whole time that there was a chance, and so I was like, oh, chance that somebody would show up and bump me. But I was like, well, either way, if I get bumped by one of them, that's still sick. I still get to see them live. I've never seen either of them live, and I've wanted to. And I've been to Vegas a bunch, and I've always meant to see Seinfeld while I was there, and I've never got to. And I want to make a point to do that. So that was all. So I'm at the Gotham Comedy Club. I'm ready to do my set. I'm hanging out with the comics, and then about halfway through the show, he showed up. But he told me at the beginning, the producer, that he already knew someone was coming. So it was very unlikely I was going to get to perform unless people dropped out or something like that. And then so he came. He did his spot. Hilarious set. Great show. I got to meet him, and we took a picture. You can check it out on my Instagram. And it was a fun night, all things considered. It was a great time. And so that was a 7 p.m. show, ran till about 9. And then there was another show, I think this was starting about 10 o'clock or like 9:30. And then I watched that till about 10:30. And so, I mean, that was another cool thing. Since I was supposed to be performing, I just got to watch these shows. Like, I didn't have to buy the tickets, which is a small thing, I guess. But I mean, like, if you're just traveling and you're going to shows and you're paying 20-30 bucks a ticket, and, you know, I didn't have to, and I got to watch Jim Gaffigan, like, all that just happened. Like, that worked out very nice. Like, I'm happy about it. I would have loved to perform. Again, I think I talked about this with Michael, but it is what it is, I guess. Like, I'll come back and I'll perform another time, but like, that's how that time worked out, and it was cool. But met Gaffigan, still saw the club, got to do it for free, chill with all the other comics, had a good night, and then watched the show after that started about 9:30. So I did 3 shows that night, or went to 3 shows that night. Comedy, Gotham, and then uh, Comedy Cellar. I went to that night as well. I left the second show at Gotham a bit early, and then the guy from what's that show? Popular show? It's on Netflix right now. I think it's Netflix one. The Pranksters, something Pranksters, not American Vandal, which I was talking about earlier. 6 show, very funny. Well, actually, that could be easily confused by the title. What is it called? Was it? It's like either something pranksters. I don't know. This guy is a comedian. He was there. He did Gotham. So I stayed. I watched his set, and then I left to get to the uh, Comedy Cellar. I went to the Comedy Cellar, and that was a late show. It was like 11:30 show. So I got a bit of food. Went to the show. Watched it. That didn't end till like 2. Man, that shit ran late. Like David Tell just did like 30 minutes, and they were like trying to get him off stage. At one point, he just kept going. It was good shit. It was funny, but it was just cool to see the big acts in those venues. And like I saw Christina Hutchison, one of my long term favorite comics, and she's got a great podcast, the Guys We Fuck podcast, and I've been listening to that for years. And she was performing, and so I got to see her perform as well at the. She was at the New York Comedy Club when I saw her, and so just like a good, I got to see a lot of people that I've followed from those New York comics. And what was I going to say about meeting her when? Or no, I didn't get to meet her, but I was like front row, basically, which was actually kind of awkward because I think she might have recognized me because like we talked on Instagram or messaged that day, literally that day about the show briefly, and me as just a fan, but just somebody messaging like or commenting like looking forward to the show, and then her being like great kind of thing. But that then I was there and I had on my one of my comedy T-shirts with like my handle actually on it, the at Matters for Comedy, and then Matt Buchanan. So it might have been like very obvious, which I realized I was like, fuck, that actually might be kind of weird or look like weird stalkery. But really, it was just like I was looking to see if she had a show there like weeks ago. I didn't see anything booked, and then within like maybe the night before, I saw that she posted something online or something that was she's doing a show. I was like sick. Okay, that works out. I'll go to that one, and that was on worked out as part of the ticket I bought from that fucking guy who sold it to me on Times Square. So I don't know. All these things panned out, and then me getting on the plane, meeting another comic, and each of these venues was just like a cool place to visit and getting to figure out who does what. Apparently, the Comedy Cellar is like the hardest place to get into, as you might know, and a lot of them do actually work on a referral system. So it's like to get booked or to become like rostered at a club, then you have to like be referenced by 2 of the other full-time comics at that club. That's how it works for the Comedy Cellar specifically too. And so like 2 people who are full-time comics at the cellar and perform there, then they would have to be your reference and say that this guy can perform there. Otherwise you can't perform at the cellar. And so I guess there's still a lot of comics, they call it like getting passed, and so there's a lot of comics who perform in New York that aren't passed at the cellar, and so they don't get to perform there. Not yet, at least, or maybe they don't want to. I don't know. I think everybody would want to. It's a great spot, man. Yeah, so I did the Harry Potter play Check out this episode too if you haven't yet. Literally, it was episode 2 with training season. Sick rap group. I was just gonna go to some of these in New York. So yeah, I went to the Empire State Building. Okay, see, I did post some of these, so that's why I just wanted to show the pictures of the club. Or did I post? Never mind, I didn't post the inside of the club. I took pictures of some of the inside just so I could kind of picture, remember the venue. But yeah, I went up to the Empire State Building. That was kind of sick, actually. I got to do that for free because, well, I bought a ticket to go up. I went there and I just bought it at the ticket kiosk, and there wasn't really much of a line. And then it printed out 2 tickets. Like, I'm still unsure to this day. There's no way to know if it printed out 2 tickets or if there was just 2 tickets or like a second ticket that was still like in there. Like, so when I go in and I pull out the ticket, there was 2 there. One was, and I only paid for 1 ticket to get me up to the 80th floor or something. And then it actually takes you up to the 80. There's another ticket you can buy that's like another 30 American just to go up to the 102nd floor. And they printed both of these. And I was like, okay. So I used the 102nd floor ticket. So I'll go all the way up. Like I did both. I went all the way up. And then when I finished and I came down, I didn't know exactly if it would work or what would pan out. But I went all the way up. I spent a couple hours just enjoying the views. And I got there right at sunset. So that was perfect timing. Excuse me. So this was like... right before the sun was about to set, so it was great. I got to see all the views in the daylight, and then 10 minutes later, the sun started to set, so you got to see all the views with the sunset, and then 10 minutes later, it's dark, you see all the views with the lights up. That's the way to do it. I've done the Eiffel Tower the same way. You see the views, the sunset, and then the night views, perfect. So I do that, go all the way up to the 102nd floor, and eventually I come down, and I just still had this extra ticket, and I just kind of like made up a story about how I was supposed to, somebody was supposed to come with me, but then they were sick, and so we had these 2 tickets, and anyways, I just need to return the 1 ticket, and then they were like, well, okay, and then so they did it. They sent me, I had to go all the way back to the fucking metal detectors and security and all that shit again, but I was like, it's like $50 American or something so I was like, all right, I got that free, ended up going up to the Empire State Building for free, met Jim Gaffigan and went to a bunch of sick comedy shows there for free, paid for a bunch of other comedy shows, but still, went to some sweet shows. All around, had a good time in New York. Not sure if I'll ever be able to go back. It's pretty ridiculous there. They're not the highest cases of COVID right now. And I'm just chilling here on quarantine. Glad that I got to go. Not sure what else, if I feel like going any other time soon. We're actually supposed to go to Las Vegas, me and like 8 or 7 of my buddies. We got this condo out there that we go to every couple of years and just have a fun week with all the boys. And it's a great, I don't know, it's been bomb. Would be my like 6th time going and 3rd time with all the buddies. And that got canceled. I'm like that spring break guy, but no, I'm not, because I'm not dumb. Like it's canceled. It was supposed to be like late June, so we were thinking it still might pan out, but as of today, we were thinking it might not pan out anymore. So, but I remember like those fucking guys who were like, spring break, we've had this plan for months, and then the girls like, we're just trying to get crazy and get drunk before everything closes. I don't know if you saw those videos, but just dumb American high school or sophomore kids basically who are still going and doing all their spring break trips recently, and it's just like, come on, and look at the state of everything. And then Trump says, the treatment shouldn't be worse than the cure, and he doesn't want to hurt the economy, and they just want business as usual, but we could just compromise that for a short period of time and fix everything more realistically. Business as usual doesn't make sense, and business as usual, like long term, because it's way too big of a topic to tackle, but just like the whole regime of the economy there, the constant growth economy, and the fact that it has to constantly grow and jobs have to grow and revenues have to go up is not sustainable. And like, you could use this opportunity, albeit unfortunate, to just sort of dismantle these systems that are not serving us well, perhaps, or find ways to, fix those things. The stocks, everything is just declining. People are going to be getting bailouts. Countries are already so in debt. None of it makes sense, but there's bigger pictures to work out in all this.